Nathalie Yamb is a Cameroonian-Swiss activist and businesswoman now joining us here live with our continued special coverage on RT International, the Russia-Africa Summit 2023. Impressed or not so much?
I'm impressed. I'm pleased, actually. I attended the first one.
Oh, you did? In Sochi?
In Sochi,
oh, great.
Yes. And I was eager to see if it improves or not due to the current situation.
Right.
And I'm very, very impressed by the amount of people that have showed up. Obviously, among the leadership, there's a little bit less of an appearance at the first level, but every country is almost represented.
We've got nearly 50 countries here for the past 2 days. It's
amazing.
It is a bit amazing.
Especially in that very special time where a lot of pressure was applied to several...
You know about this, don't you?
I know.
So it's, you know, I've heard people talk about it. I saw the reports. I mean, the Kremlin commented on this as well. There were forms of intimidation or coercion even for African leaders not to come.
Absolutely.
Why would that be the case?
Well, I think it's not a surprise. We are dealing with the West, and we are in a period where the hegemony of the West is questioned and is challenged. And everybody is trying to put a hand on Africa, Africa being one of the next big things.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's diplomacy. If you see heads of state coming, I mean, they are mad when Africa is not voting the way they want at the UN. They are mad when the people, the head of state come here and negotiate, I hope, win-win partnerships with Russia.
But you mustn't be friendly with Russia. That's what we're getting from our professional partners in certain Western countries. They don't want. They want Russia to be isolated.
Which is funny if we look back to history. I mean, it was a time where Russia was the savior, and now it's the enemy. But I think the Western world must understand that we have our own nightmares. We don't buy their nightmares. We have an historical relationship of friendship with Russia in Africa. When our forefathers were fighting for independence, Russia was helping us.
That's right. I mean, it goes back to the Soviet Union. And even before that, Ethiopia was the first African nation for Russia to develop diplomatic ties with. That was well over 100 years ago, Nathalie.
I know.
And you used the word enemy in the same sentence as Russia. And I think there's a Western narrative that is very Russophobic. I even say some of it, I categorize some of it as hate speech, to be honest with you.
It is hate speech and disinformation. It's fake news.
There you go.
I studied in Germany. I studied political science in Germany. I was teach some stuff. And now, 15, 20 years later, you come and tell a completely different narrative. You're even trying to shape the past in the way it fits you.
Exactly.
We are not buying it.
You know, it's funny because all these narratives are being pushed out there, and it's happening at a time of multipolarity. And this is what perhaps is behind the narrative, because I think certain hegemonic powers are worried about this new dimension that's happening in the world today. I mean, Nathalie, you've been speaking to people here, I have as well. There's a sense of energy, momentum. I mean, change is happening, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the end. I used to say the West, Europe, died in the 20th century.
Did you really?
I think they have now understand that they are not part of the game if they don't change fundamentally. But you were talking about an hegemonic behavior. It's difficult for them to let that code in the back and then come and change their behavior. They had a sense of property when it comes to Africa specifically, seeing that Russia is coming and other powers also are coming and dealing with us in another manner, not in an authoritative colonial manner, but in a friendly, respectful manner. They can't take it. It's a question of survival for them also.
Yes, I mean, I was going to jump in, and forgive me for doing so, but the world is changing right now, and you know, Nathalie, you and me have front row seats to the biggest changes happening in 100 years. And whether you talk about Africa, the BRICS, ASEAN, SCO, the Global South, I mean, I've seen some of your reports, or I think it's on YouTube, I've seen your reporting, and you push back on the narratives. You question the narratives. I mean, to be honest, I'm a big fan of your work, Nathalie, and I appreciate what you're doing, because I think now it's so important, more important than ever, to try and create a balance in the narratives that are being sown around the world, particularly when, as you say, there's so much disinformation. What do you see as the relationship between Russia and African countries, particularly the French-speaking African countries?
Well, I think it's not a uniform status. You have some African countries that have understood the potentiality, the opportunities that they have in dealing with Russia, and not only when it comes to military equipment, but also when it comes to energy, to agriculture. There's a wealth of stuff where there's a Russian know-how, there's a will to enter into business relationships that are equal, that are respectful, and a lot of African countries are now identifying it as an opportunity. Yes. There are others that are still very much caught into the colonial past, that are a bit late into this movement, but the majority of the countries are actually, even those who are still very, very close to France and England and wherever, but even they are seeing like an opportunity in some areas.
Yes, yes.
In oil and gas, in energy, in nuclear, in medicine, in education.
Money as well, though, isn't it? The mineral wealth of Africa. There's so, I mean, also the breadbasket of the world. And you say that, you know, the attention being put on Africa these days. I mean, some might call it a race for the African continent. Yeah. But, you know, you've got China investing in infrastructure across parts of the continent. Well, you've got Russia that's been a friend and an ally of Africa, going way back to the Soviet Union and beyond. Yeah. You've got changes happening, and yet the former colonial powers are thinking, you know, we need to get in on this, but the problem is some of these people resent us because of our historical past. And then, Nathalie, gosh, I wish I had more time to talk to you about this. I really do. Nathalie Yamb, a Cameroonian-Swiss activist. I love your videos. I love your reports.
Thank you.
Please keep up the good work, and thank you for joining us here.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you
very much.